What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Protect Our Queens podcast for what is the final episode of 2023. And as you can see, it's just me and Martin tonight, and we are going to have a lot of fun. I'm going to ask Martin some questions. He's going to ask me some questions. We're going to look back at our favorite moments of Protect Our Queens this year, as well as talk about some other very important things before the year is out. So please, please, please stay tuned for this sure to be an action-packed episode because I'm ready, and I know Martin's ready. So you got 30 seconds to get ready because on the other side of this intro, we're getting right into it.
Protect our queens.
No matter what it takes, we must protect our queen.
I just love playing the game. It's fun.
I'm reacting on what the defender does.
I hit them with a hezzy. After that, they quit.
Yeah, I think I've always just been able to get downhill. So I've sort of prided myself on that.
I know what I'm doing. Like, people can't tell me I'm not doing the right, I've been taught the right way.
Yeah, you know you're ready with that shirt on. Thou shalt not
Yeah, I just
protect our
you know.
queen.
we can make that happen.
Biblical on it.
We can make that happen. We can make that happen. Bro, I'm so excited for this, bro. I'm really excited. We've come a long way.
It's been an exciting few months. It's been an exciting few months. I don't know who's watching live right now, but whoever's watching this, whenever you're watching, we appreciate the support for watching Protect Our Queens as we look to just not really just even push the women's game forward. What we're really mainly trying to do here on Protect Our Queens, Marcus and I, is kind of start a community of sorts to build on energy that a couple of young Black males like ourselves can appreciate and love the game of women's basketball, just like we love and appreciate any other basketball at any other level. And we want to invite more people, not just males, of course, not just Black males, but anybody who wants a safe space, who wants a fun, lit space to tap in on some women's basketball. That's what we want Protect Our Queens to be. So hopefully anyone who's watching or who's been watching has been appreciating the energy so far. It's definitely been a fun few months. We've had about 9 guests, if I remember my count right. Yeah. Some pretty good ones, all great ones, in fact, I would argue. So yeah, anyone who's been along for the ride so far, much love, much appreciated.
It's been great. It's crazy to think that today is 3 months to the day that we started to Protect Our Queens, actually. And we had a lot of very long conversations about what we're going to do for this. I think we've done a really good job so far through the first 3 months of this, just kind of setting a good expectation. And I am very excited for what the future holds for this show. It's going to be great, man. It's going to be great.
Yeah. We got this is a chance to kind of recap the show, what we've been doing so far. And recap kind of the year in women's basketball in a way. We got some stuff coming up. We'll throw out some kind of 2023 recap stuff from just the space of women's basketball and the Protect Our Queens podcast itself. So yeah, we
absolutely
definitely have some good stuff to get into.
A lot of good stuff to get into. So let's get right into it. The 2024 WNBA draft lottery has been decided. The Indiana Fever for back-to-back years have the number 1 pick in the draft. The Sparks have number 2. The Mercury have number 3. The Storm have number 4. As soon as the lottery was not even done, but as it was going, Martin texted was like, well, Mercury has number 3. Oh yeah, that's kind of interesting. It's kind of interesting. And it has to be interesting, right? It definitely kind of throws a nice little interesting dynamic into what, could happen. I think we can all assume Caitlin Clark, number 1 to the Indiana Fever. If she comes out, she does have 1 more year of eligibility left. But if she comes out, which we all think she will, she's going number 1.
No, I do want to talk. I want to get your take.
Yeah, let's talk about it.
You think she'll definitely come out regardless, no matter what scenario? Is that your? And do you think she should?
I don't think it's definitive. It's for a number of reasons, right? I don't want to give the cliche answer, go oh, now with NIL, nothing's definitive. But That is a factor. Like now that NIL exists, it's never definitive anymore. Whether these girls, whether these guys in other sports are going to come out now, especially with someone like Caitlin Clark who just signed to Gatorade a couple hours ago, earlier today, right? Like we have all this money. You don't have to jump right to the pros when you're making all this money they're making. I think she should, because it's the WNBA, right? And I don't think this is her. She'll be great, she'll be a really good pick. She'll be a really great player on the next level. Will she be number one in 2025? I don't think so. I don't think she'll be number one. Like I think if Caitlin Clark wants to be the number one pick in the draft, I think she should come out this year because she has the talent for it. And I think she has a lot of interesting things playing in her favor, so to speak, right? And we've talked about this a lot behind the scenes. I think the absence of Paige kind of helped with that a lot. Caitlin Clark's ascension kind of took place at the most opportune time, right around the time when, Paige was out because of injury. There's a lot of speculation about whether or not Angel Reese is going to come out this year because she's going to graduate this year, but she also has another year of eligibility. So there's a lot of different moving parts and a lot of different moving pieces. I think Caitlin should come out because I always think players should come out when they're at their peak. Like, yeah. I think you should 100% always come out before you risk any chance of the stock dropping, because anything can happen. And I'm not wishing it on Caitlin Clark, but we've seen it time and time and time again. A perfect example in football, Justin Herbert, in his second year in Oregon, he could have been the number one pick. He stayed, came out 2 years later. He was like the 10th pick in the draft. Still a really good player, but stock dropped a little bit because other players were on the rise. And so you don't want that to happen. We've seen instances of players getting hurt, right, when they could have come out on top and then they end up not. So I don't want that to happen. Caitlin Clark, she should come out when she's hot. And honestly, who wouldn't want to see Caitlin Clark and Aaliyah Boston team up and play basketball together in Indiana? I think that'd be great.
Yeah, I wonder if that's incentive for her. Like, I look forward to hearing. I'm sure people are asking her plenty of questions about it. There's only so much she can say, but I wonder in her mind if that's incentive. Like, if she sees that opportunity to play with Boston as incentive to be like, no matter what happens. I mean, I think she'll play it by what happens this season, and that's what I always look at, because people talk about, like, I heard someone say she can forget about winning a national championship. Like, that won't happen. I'm like, are you sure? And I asked you the same question about what you just said. Are you sure someone now injuries? I'm with you. I get you can always get hurt. I get that. Mm-hmm. Stock dropping is possible, but we're talking about the women's game. We're talking about women's college. Caitlin is generational enough. She'll be the same player.
She is.
And unless you have a name for me that you project is going to get picked over her in 2 years as opposed to next year, I'm pretty sure she'd still be number one in 2 years. I mean, I don't know. I think she'll be the same player. I think injuries.
No, yeah, you're right. The only thing that could keep her from being number one is injuries, because the same players that she'd be picked ahead of now have the same extra year of eligibility for next year. So you're right. The only thing that would keep Caitlin from not being picked number one next year would be if she gets hurt.
Yeah, and back to the national championship thing. I think I like Caitlin is so great. I mean, they were in the Final Four last year. They were outmatched by talent, athleticism. Listen, I'm watching this closely. I don't have a definitive kind of opinion on this. People seem to think like definitively on her and Paige. I want to talk about Paige too with this, but I feel like Caitlin is very Iowa connected, very Iowa loyal. She got so close last year. Now this is one thing I look at though, Marcus. Like, imagine if Iowa loses, if they don't even make it to the Sweet 16. Like, imagine if they fall under expectations, if they lose early, if they lose the conference champion. I mean, they'll go to the NCAAs either way, but imagine if they don't make a great run. That's where I'm like, okay, now let's watch her temperament and things she's saying and what she might do, because it goes one of two ways. Obviously, she goes or she leaves. But that motivation factor is always so interesting to me, because if they lose early, that's a scenario, because it's like, okay, maybe she just wants to go pro. Season is long. The college season is long. And, she has a lot of pressure on her, even in college. Like, maybe it's time for the next step. She did all she could. If they go far, let's say she goes to the national championship and loses. Is that a scenario where, would she have to win the national championship? That's my ultimate question, is that the only way she feels like ultimately, yeah, I'm definitely going? Otherwise, I feel like it's still up in the air, because there's for her to do.
because she can win a national championship and want to stay in school to go back to back. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, it's not.
It could, but I don't think that's. Listen, Iowa's not a back-to-back. I mean, if she's built that way mentally, she's thinking like, I want to back. I mean, that's a killer type mentality. But
I think
it's hard to repeat as national champ. That's hard.
It is. I think that's the difficult thing with it is that there's a scenario where she's not even thinking about being drafted, and we're all just kind of like we're all just kind of doing it. And like the plan is just for her to
like,
stay.
I'm going as long as I can at Iowa to go as far as I can. Like she's been to the Final Four, so getting to the national championship is obviously the next step. Of course, she wants to win it, but listen, if she doesn't get to the national championship this season, I have reason to believe she may stay for another year, just from how beloved she is in Iowa and how it seems clear she wants to win a natty there. And it's pretty similar with Paige, bro. It's pretty similar with Paige, but it's different. It's different. So I think they have very different circumstances going on.
Well, I would say if Iowa gets to the national championship again this year, it'll be the second year in a row.
Right.
If they lose again, I don't know if Paige, or if not Paige, I'm sorry. I don't know if Caitlin would want to try to go. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, it's difficult. It's so very difficult to get into the mind of a college athlete because there are some people who are wired where I'm going to stay until I can get it. If I don't get it done, at least I'd give it my all, right? And maybe Caitlin's that. Maybe Caitlin is, you know what? I have another year, but like I've taken this ride as far as it's going to take me. Clearly, we're not there yet, and so let me just go. Let me just start the next chapter.
Yeah.
And there's other athletes who are like, you know what? I know that I'm really good at this. I just want to enjoy my college experience for as long as possible. Like and I think the tough thing with Caitlin is because her rise has been so meteoric and so sudden and so kind of like overnight sensation type of deal. We don't know enough about Caitlin as a we don't know enough about Caitlin to be able to even attempt to try to figure out what she's gonna do. Do you know what I mean? Like there are other players, like the Aaliyah Bostons, like the A'ja Wilsons, who were great instantly. Like we knew it instantly because of the program that they were at. And so we really kind of said, oh yeah, Aaliyah's coming out now. Like she's ready, right? Caitlin is ready to go to the WNBA next year from a talent standpoint. It's hard for us to figure out if she's ready to go from like mentally, like you said, like mentally, is she going to disconnect herself from Iowa? Because she is. She's the main attraction.
She's very, and think about it, like that's even a burden in itself to just step away from that, to walk away. Not just from an ego sense, but from the people who are actually in Iowa. They feed off her. They love that. And thank you for correcting me because I forgot Iowa was in the national championship. So she would have to win the thing to feel like, okay, I did all done. But again, it's very interesting. I think of it both ways. What if they lose early, bro? Like that. I mean, she could check out. She could say if they lose early, it's like, dang, they've been a top 5 team. They do look really good. I don't know if they look as good as last year, but they still look very good.
But I also think with the parity, and we talked about this, earlier on and before the season even started, with the parity that exists across college basketball now. You have LSU, obviously, who's 7th, right? You have UCLA, who's undefeated. You have South Carolina, who a lot of people thought were rebuilding. They're undefeated at the top of the country. Yeah. Texas undefeated. Iowa does have the
transfer portal is the reason.
Absolutely. NC State undefeated, number 3, right? Then you have to think about other teams like USC, who's undefeated. Notre Dame, they're 14th right now, but they've been really good. Like it's not crazy to think they did lose to unranked Kansas State a couple weeks ago in a close one. They got their win back a few weeks later, but like there's a lot of parity across the league now. Across the country now, where it's like it's not completely out of the realm of possibility for Iowa to lose before the Sweet 16 or even in the Sweet 16. I really think it depends on how they lose, not necessarily win.
That's a good point.
Do you know what I mean? If they get blasted before, like if Iowa gets absolutely dusted, dog walked, like they look like they don't belong on the court, I think that would be, in a situation where they lose early, that I think would be more of, okay, we need to come back. I can't let this be what you remember me by, being absolutely blown off the floor. Right. Now, if they lose in a tight game let's say they're the 2 seed and they lose in a tight game to like an 8-10 seed or something like that in the Sweet 16, it's like a 3-point game or something like that. That is something where it's like, I left it all on the floor. We still couldn't get over the hump. I think I'm ready to just take this clean break and move on to the WNBA. So I think it's not so much about when they lose in the tournament, because it's going to be how. If Iowa gets torched at any point, I think she's going to come back, because Caitlin Clark, we do know she's a competitor, and she's not going to want her last time stepping foot on the floor for Iowa being in a loss in a blowout. So that, I think, is more important than necessarily the win.
She's not going to go out just any type of way. And trust, oh my God, I am fearful of how nuts she will go in the tournament, because she is going to go.
She's going to go crazy,
all out, everything she can to, because it could be her last ride in the back of her head. That could be it. And a Caitlin Clark who's thinking this is my last shot at it, bro. She's gonna be swinging for the fences, bro. That's gonna look crazy.
I want to bring this comment back up.
Oh yeah, I did want to see.
Max Clark, we appreciate the comment. He said, it's so weird to me how Angel is just left out of the top 3 draft picks, and it's Paige or Caitlin. How is Angel as low as 7th when she won a chip? We've talked about this a little bit. We have talked about this a little bit. I think there's a number of different reasons. I think the first reason, the main reason, I think the thing that a lot of people are holding against Angel, as they hold against a lot of Black athletes, and I'll try not to get my soapbox here, but it's just a lot of people don't think she's personable. And sometimes that's kind of what it comes down to, right? Is now, we don't think that. We love Angel. We think Angel's great. Angel's done a lot for the Angel Reese. Now, I want to say single-handedly, because she hasn't done it by herself, but in a way, Angel Reese just by herself, especially in the run that LSU had to the national championship this year, did a lot for women's basketball. We're talking about her being in music videos, right? She got a court named after herself back in, like, she did a lot for the notoriety, women's sports overall, but especially her. I don't know. There's a lot of people who just don't think she's good enough. There's also a lot of names that don't get respect, like Rickea Jackson, who is the 3rd. And if you're asking me if I think Angel Reese is better than Rickea Jackson, I would say no. So if that's the top 3 to me, I think that should be the top 3.
Yeah, and I mean, Cameron Brink is the first big projected to be drafted in this and people have Cam Brink over Angel Reese. And the reason why I would say is because Cam Brink's game is probably right now a little more polished than Angel. I'm glad you spoke to the off-court stuff and her personability and stuff, and that's a thing people do look at when you go to the pros, and how you feel about that and how you feel about Angel is kind of up to you. But I do think that factors in, and we have talked about her on the show. Like everybody knows that Angel is probably the most unique case from a personality.
100%. I mean, you've said she's a case study.
She's going to be a case study in 5 to 10 years, just based on her popularity and everything that's happened just this year since she's won the national championship. From this to Cardi B video to everything, like her last 6 months is going to be a case study eventually. But I mean, she's a top 10 pick right now. I think, just basketball wise, if you watch enough, you can acknowledge that she has more she can do. She has more to work on. She has a lot of great traits. I personally would take Angel Reese top 5. If I was drafting in the WNBA, I would draft her for her personality and for her game, because both of those things would do amazing things for my franchise on and off the court. So that's just me. I think she's made for the WNBA. And I think the more she plays in college, the better she's going to be, the better pro she's going to be. But as of today, I think it is justified to have her as top 10 and have a few of those people over her, just because, I mean, she did win a natty. She was dominant. But I think when you look at her game, you're still waiting to see her put some more things together.
He just replied saying that MDX replied saying, I mean, my fear is that women like Juju, Angel, Malaysia will always get less coverage than Caitlin or Paige, like how Asia isn't celebrated as Sabrina or Brianna. Look, listen, if you want to get into a conversation about the way that African-American athletes are treated by the media compared to white athletes, we can absolutely have that conversation. I think that's a conversation worth having. What I will say, what I do think that Angel Reese does benefit from is she's a big. And as Martin and I have talked about so many times on this show, the WNBA and women's basketball as a whole, it's a big girls game. And all Angel Reese has to do is just replicate what she did last year. if we get to March, we get to tournament time, and Angel Reese is just as dominant, right? Because I think I think the other thing too, and we can kind of tie Asia Wilson into this, right? The one concern a lot of people had when with the Aces was, can Asia Wilson still be dominant when you've got all these talented players around her? And yes, she was just as dominant this year. She wasn't. In fact, she was more dominant this year than she was in years prior. If Angel Reese, with all the talent she has around her, now that they've got Hailey Van Lith and all these other great talented women playing basketball, if Angel Reese is just as dominant this year as she was last year, I think that helps her. It can only help her case, right? It's not going to hurt her case. Now, if she's not as dominant as she was last year, compared to this year, maybe that can hurt her case a little bit. And then maybe that's where you start playing into the mind of, is she really top 5? But I agree with Martin. For her personality, she's marketable. Any team that drafts her, put a phone in her hand and just have her do day in the life every day. And you'll get views, you'll get clicks, you'll get likes, you'll get comments, you'll get reposts, shares, all that stuff, because that's what Angel Reese does. Angel Reese brings traffic. She brings attention. She is marketable and she is attention grabbing. When she talks, when she plays, when she moves, everyone wants to figure out what's going on, whether they love her, whether they hate her. And so she should be drafted for those reasons. But there are teams out there, people out there in front office, obviously, who are not going to draft her for those reasons. And that's their prerogative. Whoever gets Angel Reese, wherever she's drafted, is going to get a really good player.
Absolutely. Yeah. And, on Paige, and that's a great comment. I definitely appreciate that comment too, because that's fair to say. Now we're going to talk about Juju in a little bit, but I don't think, and Hannah, even Malaysia, I think, like some of these players coming up, and trust me, the talent even coming up before them, these 7th graders, 8th graders, trust me, y'all don't even understand what's coming, but they won't have a chance. They won't have a choice but to market these girls the same way they market the Caitlins and the Paige. Trust me, they won't have a choice. The talent that's coming up is just like they don't have a choice of Aaliyah Boston. She was rookie of the year. She was an MVP candidate at one point. She dominated right away. Her first, like the talent that's coming up, they literally won't have a choice. But on Paige real quick too, because she's a different circumstance, mainly because she got her best friend who just got hurt and is out for the year. Also because she hasn't been able to play a full season healthy yet. And also because she's also chasing a national championship. What's interesting is that right now, Iowa is much closer to UConn in that regard. But
UConn's like 17th or something right now. It hasn't been a good start.
Down bad. Izzy's hurt. They're down bad. Like they just haven't been at full strength yet with Paige and AZ and everyone at full strength. So it's unfortunate, but I look at Paige as like maybe she may go. What I did say to you was like, I just thought it was interesting that it's always interesting when the mock order that we see for weeks and months on end, Indiana, Phoenix, Seattle, like we saw the same order. When I'm watching and it's like, oh, Phoenix got through, just because everything says Paige Bueckers going to Phoenix number 2. Makes total sense to me for her to be the the next up and coming under Diana Taurasi. Makes perfect sense. Now that Phoenix doesn't have number 2, it shakes things up. So when I'm looking, I'm like, wow, just like that. And I'm pretty sure Phoenix wants Paige, and they should want Paige.
They do.
My thinking is 1 and 2 has to be Caitlin Paige. I don't care who's at 2. I don't see how you pass up on Paige Bueckers if she's there.
Well, the thing I mentioned to Martin in response was I wouldn't be surprised if the Sparks pass on Paige. Just looking at their roster construction, they have a bunch of guards. And, Paige is fantastic. Paige, despite Jordan Canada having, the best year of her career, despite being the lead guard, if Paige was drafted to the Sparks tomorrow, Paige would be the best guard on the team, more than likely. No debate with you there. But I also, just from having watched Kurt Miller teams and recognizing and seeing what he likes, especially from his time in Connecticut, I know that he likes to have a good big. And their best big is Nneka Ogwumike. And there's nothing wrong with that. Listen, there's nothing wrong with that. She finished 6th in the league in points per game. She's great, phenomenal. One of the, she doesn't get enough love and enough appreciation. But we do also have to recognize that Nneka is getting up there. And at some point, you're going to want to find your next youthful big, right? Especially when you look across the league And some of these teams are starting to get their next youthful big, right? The Aces got their youthful big a couple years ago in Asia Wilson, right? Now, the Fever got theirs this year. Now, Ryan Howard, not a big, but she's a big guard. And she's going to be the face of the franchise for the next couple of years, right? She's been dealing with some injuries these past 2 years, but Shakira Austin, when she's healthy, she's going to get the king to the kingdom in DC from Elena Delle Donne. That's just how it's going to go because she deserves it and she's talented. At some point, the Sparks, I think, have to go get that next big. They have to go find Nneka's successor. And I don't think there's a better time than this year to do it. Whether you take Rickea, whether you take Cameron, whether you reach and take Angel Reese, one of those three, I think could, and I'm not saying it's going to happen, but it wouldn't surprise me if the Sparks say, you know what, we have a very guard-heavy team, right? There are a lot of really good guards coming down the pipe. None of them the caliber of Paige Bueckers. Got it. But still really, really good. We want to cash in and capitalize on getting a really good big now. And I don't think Phoenix should give up hope on Paige. They should have a backup plan in case the Sparks do just, take Paige. But I don't think they should give up hope. They should definitely have a backup plan. But I do think it wouldn't surprise me if the Sparks say, you know what? Yes, it's Paige. Yes, she's generational. We have seen teams before, not just in the WNBA, but just in general. We've seen teams in sports all the time. They pass up on the no-brainer answer for what best suits them in the moment. And what best suits the Sparks in the moment right now for 2024 is finding the successor to Nneka Ogwumike before it's too late. And you're left with a massive hole in the roster as other teams in the league are getting their bigs and getting their front court solidified. That's what you don't want to happen.
Yeah, that's fair. I think those are great points, and that's fair. I'm going the take the best player available route. Take the best player, and as you put it, the generational player. I think Cameron is really good, and I do think she fits. I think that makes sense. But I think it would be a mistake to pass up on Paige for any team to pass up on Paige Bueckers if she's on the board. That would surprise me, but I think those are fair points.
Well, you mentioned Hannah, you mentioned Juju a couple weeks ago. Our good one of our guests on the show, Mark Schindler, also alluded to Hannah Hidalgo and what she's been doing at Notre Dame. So let's toss it back to Mark.
Yeah, man, Hannah's going to be special. Not to just go on like a whole rant and tangent, but like I think like people get an idea of what a freshman can be and they're like, oh, she could be like pretty solid, she'll have an impact. Like I think she's going to be like a special freshman. Like she's not just going to be good. I think she's going to be great. I was talking to Niele Ivey the other day, and she said that she has already been a program changer and somebody who she views as like a long-term program changer. So just for reference for people who are not you guys who have that kind of insight on Hannah, that's the kind of player that's coming in here. So I can't wait, man.
Great stuff from Mark. Great
Really
stuff. Yeah, he was spot on. He was spot on.
Hannah is ridiculous. I don't really know any other way to put it.
I saw she's the only player right now in the country averaging 25, 5 and 5. Yeah.
25, 5 and 5.
Yeah. I mean, she has really stepped into the role that Niele Ivey needed her to be in, especially with Olivia Miles out. But man, I mean, she really just gave her the ball and said, go, from scoring to, rebounding, defending. And these are all things that she is capable of doing, that she's used to doing at a high level. But man, it's really impressive to see, like, not just her, but again, like Niele Ivey giving her that confidence and that empowerment. And like, again, it's what her team needed. So like, kudos to her for just like keeping it, simple, not trying to like, I think we need to start talking about Niele Ivey a little bit more. And I think
she's amazing. She's amazing
as this group does a little bit more over the next couple of years. But yeah, Hannah's different, man. I think like even as we talk about Juju and Hannah, not to compare it all, because there's so much great talent, and that's the best thing, is that there's so much talent to love and appreciate. we're not putting them side by side or anything. It's just it's so cool to see so many different styles of greatness right now. And just as freshmen in these two freshmen. I mean, both of these players are freshmen, and they don't look like freshmen out there.
No, they don't look like freshmen, and I think we need to. I mean, these two are obviously going to be in the conversation from now. Well, not even in the conversation. These two are the conversation for the best freshmen in the country, and one of these two will more than likely win the award and be named the freshman of the year. But both of them are also in the discussion for National Player of the Year right now. I can't name many players this year that have played better than Juju or Hannah, let alone both of them, right? I will give Caitlin Clark's the one because she's been Caitlin Clark. She's picked up right where she left off, right? Other than Caitlin Clark, that's the only player I could say definitively that has consistently been better than Juju and Hannah this year. Like, they've both been great. And like you said, in their own very unique ways. And I think that's the beautiful thing about this is we have two really talented girls playing really high-level basketball, two completely different ways, and it's resulting in success for their both programs. For USC, they're undefeated. Notre Dame, I think, has 2 or 3 losses on the season. But as you mentioned, they're not going anywhere. Like, Notre Dame's not going, and I don't mean anytime soon because of, the youthfulness of Hannah and how and the team, but like they're not going anywhere like this season. Like Notre Dame, I think could make the Elite 8, if not the Final 4.
Bro,
it's a really good basketball team.
And that's coaching. And you're saying that without even seeing them with Olivia Miles. Imagine that. Bro. Imagine that, bro. Like, it's coaching. I mean, it's a lot. It's Hannah. They've got good players. But trust me, when you look at them on the floor, you may not think you're going to see a team. I mean, they got blown out by South Carolina the first game of the season. So
they did.
Maybe they're not. Maybe they're not that. But look, I've seen them in person. I've watched them plenty of times since then. Nat Marshall is getting better. Maddie Westbell, they just got KK Bransford back. So between,
and she played great in her first game back.
Yeah, absolutely. No, she's been playing better and better each game since she's been back. So they have good players. They may not have some elite, roster or anything, but they have really good players and they have a really good coach. And they have players that have been getting better and they've been getting opportunities because, Sonia Citron was out for a little bit. Olivia's been out, as we know. KK was out. So they've had players getting minutes, having to get experience on the floor and getting trust from Niele Ivey. It's not like she's just rolling them out there like, oh, it's your time. Yeah. She empowers them. She puts them in the system. She empowers them to shoot, to make plays, to be themselves. And I think they're playing a style that really works with their roster. They get after it. They're competitive. Again, I think more people should be talking about Niele Ivey. And I like your prediction. I could see them getting to the Elite 8 with or without Olivia Miles, based on what I've been seeing.
When you look at what Notre Dame has done so far this season, since the blowout to South Carolina, because they didn't look that great, but it was their first game, of the season. They were without Olivia. There's a lot of things to figure out. They look better than their record reflects. And that happens so many times. Like, they've had some off ones, sure, but they look so much better than their record reflects. And if I today had a bracket in front of me based off of the teams that we know are, in the top 25 and obviously going to be selected, like if we just, put it together, there's no way I could definitively say that Notre Dame's not at least an Elite 8 team. I can't, because there's no team that they line up on the other side of the floor from that they don't think they can beat. And there's no reason for us as viewers, as fans, as people that are consuming the sport and the product they're putting on the floor to look at all that they've done, to look at all that Hannah's done, to look at all that Coach and Ivey's done and say, they're probably not winning this game. Like, they have the toughness, the scrappiness, and the hustle to hang with anybody on the floor. And it doesn't matter who it is. And you're right, that 100% goes back to coaching, and Coach Ivey deserves all the credit in the world because she's done great so far this season. She's going to continue to do great things, not just for the rest of the season, but for as long as she's in Notre Dame. She's going to make Notre Dame before her time is done. Notre Dame's going to win a national championship because she's just that good of a head coach.
Yeah, when it comes to Juju, I've seen Chloe Pavlik herself compare Juju to Maya Moore. And I wasn't sure about it at first, but now. There's a stat out there. I don't know if you know it about how many 30-point games she has. Does she lead the country?
She set the record, I believe. First of all, I think she set the record for it's either most 30-point games by a freshman ever or most 30-point games by a USC freshman. I do know that she has the most 30-point games in the country.
Yes, I mean to get to be setting 30-point games records as a freshman is pretty Maya Moore like, and even in the way she plays, the way she shoots the ball in transition, off the catch, off the bounce, she's super smooth. She has a high release point. She has a nice tall frame. My God, like you talk about not looking like a freshman, and that's just her scoring the ball alone. She is generational. She is completely unique. Like, my goodness, she's the type where just as a freshman, just like I've compared her to watching Carmelo Anthony as a freshman. When you're watching one of those specimens that just doesn't look like a freshman, she could take USC on a run as a freshman. Like, not to say by herself, but the fact that she's their best player, she's good enough as their best player as a freshman right now to take them on a run if she taps in that way.
Well, USC undefeated right now. USC are looking like, I know I said, that Notre Dame's looking like Elite Eight. USC is looking like Final Four. I just can't. And we're 10 games into the season. I got it. Anything can happen. I got it. And I understand that. And as Stephen A says on First Take, all these things, they're fluid, right? But again, if we're just looking at what I've got right now on December 12th, we're 10 games into the season.
They're a Final Four team?
I think their ceiling's a Final Four team. I really do. I think when you have a really, really good player this young, that's only getting better. Like, we're not even just talking about like she's going to get better as the years go on. That freaks me out to think about what she's going to look like in the next 2, 3, 4 years. She's getting better on a game-to-game basis, and the game just comes so easy to her. Like, she never looks overwhelmed out there. She always looks like she's in control. I know she's always in control. She's dropping 30 balls left and right? As this team continues to get better, as they continue to find their hole, are they going to lose some games down the line? Of course they are, right? But the reason why I think that USC could be in the mix for the Final Four is because they're going to win enough games to have a top 2 seed in their region. Whatever region they're put in for the bracket, they're going to have a top 2 seed in the region. And when you have a top 2 seed in the region, you have a very, very, very good shot to make it at the very least to the Elite Eight, obviously. But also, they are just good enough where I think if they continue to get better and if they continue on this trajectory, yeah, they'll drop some here and there. But if they continue on this trajectory, they can be in the Final Four. And whether that Final Four includes, South Carolina, Notre Dame, LSU, Iowa, whoever it includes, I think so far the way that they've played up to par with one of those teams. Just look at it and say they can win a national championship. And that's the beautiful thing about this season, though, that there's so many teams that you look at and you expect to be there. And then there's other teams like USC who just found their one person. And that one person is Juju. And Juju's been great so far. And she can take them there. She probably won't, but she can. She can. Their ceiling is Final Four. I wouldn't be surprised if we look up and it's time for us to make a national championship predictions, and they're one of the 4 teams left when we're making those predictions. They've just been that good so far early on in the season.
She's special. I haven't gotten to watch them really end to end in a full game. I don't know their team like that. I didn't realize. I didn't know they were that good. I know she's good. I've been watching clips and film of her. I didn't know they were Final Four bound, but I know UCLA looks really good. I don't know. That's UCLA the might be looking at, but I don't know. That's you got some bold predictions on this last episode, Marcus.
So when
they can go on a run, especially you have a special player, you can make a run. I said run, you said Final Four. That's that. You got some bold takes on this last episode.
I think their run is Final Four worthy. I don't.
Where are they ranked right now? Are they ranked?
Of course they're ranked. They're undefeated. They are. I'll pull it up for you.
Are they?
Yeah, last I checked, they are. They're 10-0, I think, if I remember correctly.
I didn't even realize they were.
I don't think they're not 10-0. I don't know their exact record, but they are 6 in the country.
They're 8-0. They're 8-0.
They're 8-0. They're undefeated. They're 6 in the country, though. Yeah. And I think In my
they play USC in a couple weeks. That's the game you should want to watch to determine who they.
well,
that's
definitely going to be the game you look at. That's going to determine, just how good this USC team is. 100%.
Yeah, because I'm looking at the games. I don't know who they've played. I don't know who you've seen them play yet to determine their Final Four team. I mean, they beat Ohio State first game of the season, and they're good, but they're not. I don't know. But you got me interested. You got me more interested now. I knew Juju was special, and when you have a special player, they can take you on a run. But you're talking Final Four. You got me wanting to really watch them now.
I mean, I would say just from what I've seen from the games that I've watched, I watched their Ohio State game. I watched their game against Penn State, and I watched a bit of their most recent game against UC Riverside. Their worst game was against Penn State. They scored 71 points. It was a 71-7 game, but also it was a very scrappy game. It was a very back and forth kind of game. I just, I get high on teams pretty easy. That's probably what's wrong with me. But I mean, I think this is a really good basketball team at the very least. That game against UCLA is going to be a big one. They play UCLA twice in a 2-week span. They play them on the 30th. They play them again on the 14th. So it's super quick. And then they have to play, after their second time playing UCLA, they have to play Utah, who has been pretty good so far.
They're conference games.
And then they have to play Colorado. And those 3 games are all in a 1-week stretch. So, they've got some tough ones. I just really like what I'm seeing so far. I really do.
I like it, man. I'm even more intrigued. That's good stuff.
I really do. Martin, in just a second, is going to give us 5 things we may not have known about women's basketball this year. But before we get into that, we are going to toss it back super quickly to the last episode of Protect Our Queens, featuring North Carolina State forward Mimi Collins.
First of all, we had it on our minds right after Charlotte. As soon as the buzzer went off, it was UConn. We just said as a team and as players that we're the underdogs. Don't ever forget that. You're an underdog, so it's you don't have nothing to lose. I know we have high goals for each other. I know we want to win this. I know we're very determined. I know we have all the pieces to win this. We just came in and was this is us. So, and we just try to show that toughness, show that we could defend and share the ball, and we got it done.
Shout out to Mimi Collins. NC State is a top 5 team in the country right now. You better be talking about them about Final
They deserve it
before she comes for you.
No, my 100% teams I think are going to be in the Final Four right now are I think South Carolina, UCLA, NC State, and Iowa are going to be in the Final Four. There are just teams that I think USC and Notre Dame that could maybe shock the world and get there. NC State has been really good this year.
Really good. They're playing really well. Really well. All right. So I got 5 things from 2020.
Put us on game.
Just some things to take note of. If you've been really paying attention to women's basketball this year, from the NCAA tournament to even the WNBA season, you know that we've had some really impressive benchmarks and records set with women's basketball this year. So 5 things from women's basketball in 2023. Number 1, just a quick fun fact about the NCAA women's championship game between LSU and Iowa. More people watched that game than game 1 of the World Series. So that's pretty significant. I don't know how many people usually watch the World Series. I'm not one of them, but more people watched the NCAA Women's Championship, Angel Reese, Caitlin Clark, LSU, Iowa, than game 1 of the World Series. So that seems significant. Another thing, sticking with that game, that national championship game between LSU and Iowa, that national championship game had 9.9 million viewers. So almost 10 million people watched LSU and Iowa in the national championship. It was the most viewed women's college basketball game on record and the most viewed college basketball game ever on any ESPN platforms, and that's men's or women's. So we got the most watched college basketball game on ESPN ever on ESPN this year, and it was the women's national championship. Take it over to the WNBA for a second. So the WNBA season this year reached over 36 million unique viewers across all national networks. And that's the highest since 2008. And it's up 27% from last season. So shout out to the WNBA for having a really benchmark season all the way from the draft through the WNBA finals. Sticking with the draft. So the WNBA draft this year averaged 572,000 viewers on ESPN. A lot of those probably came from the excitement about the freshies from South Carolina getting drafted. So had over 570,000 viewers on ESPN of the WNBA draft this year, which was up 42% from last year. And that's the most watched WNBA draft since 2004. So we got two more things. Back to college basketball. So ESPN's coverage of the women's college basketball regular season was the most watched since 2015. It averaged 190,000 viewers over 83 games, which is up 11%. The season's most watched regular season game was LSU versus South Carolina on ESPN, which averaged over 1 million viewers, a million and a half viewers. And that was the most viewed regular season women's college basketball game on any network since 2010. And then lastly, number 5, just back staying in college basketball, the NIL wave, players making money has obviously been a huge thing this year. Angel Reese and Flau'jae Johnson on LSU, obviously teammates. They won the national championship, and they've been at the top of the list for college athletes on these NIL valuation lists and sponsorship deals and partnerships and all that stuff. So Angel and Flau'jae are responsible for, as of August 2023, this is per On3 NIL 100 valuations, Angel and Flau'jae have reached over $1 million NIL valuation, and they're the first women's college basketball players to be up there. There are some athletes in other sports who are up there with them, but they're the only women's college players to reach over $1 million. And I believe they were the first college basketball players to reach over $1 million, whether it was men's or women's. So those are your 5 things, fun facts about women's basketball this year in a historic 2023 for the sport.
I guess the best thing about that is there's still a lot of people who say that nobody watches women's basketball, but I've got
they are still out there.
I've got 10 million people watching
out there.
LSU and Iowa, and I've got less than 10 million people watching first game of the World Series. And I don't want to hear anything about, it was the Rangers and the Diamondbacks. I ain't trying to hear none of that. Baseball is America's sport. I'm not trying to hear none of that. Shout out to the woman. You see what the shirt says, "Thou shalt not try me." That's all I got. That's cool, though.
Absolutely. Yeah, good stuff. Yeah, you make a good point. There are still people hanging on their heads and their hats on hyperbole. Nobody watches. You're wrong. You had me at nobody. Like, now I can't.
Nobody cares. That's not true.
Okay.
There's a lot of people care.
Yeah, I don't take you seriously. All right, Marcus, you got something for us, right? Your 5 favorite players of 2023. What do you got for us, man?
Yeah, so I didn't want to be biased. I didn't want to be biased. So there are no South Carolina players on this list. There is one Aces player on this list because I really just want to talk about the 5 players that I enjoyed watching the most this year. This is a spoiler alert. Sorry. They are all WNBA players. I committed myself to be extremely tapped into the WNBA this year. Because I just expected really great things from the WNBA this year. If I had to redo this list, I would, shout out and honorable mention to, of course, Angel Reese. I'd throw Caitlin Clark in there as well because they were both fantastic to watch in college. But these are all WNBA players. So I'm going to get my list from 5 to 1. At number 5, it is Shakira Austin of the Washington Mystics. She missed some time this year due to injury. But I was a big fan of Shakira Austin going to the Mystics last year when she was drafted. I thought it was a great fit. As I mentioned earlier, you'll want to find Elena Delle Donne's successor before it's too late. I think the Mystics have that in Shakira Austin. She's gritty. She's tough. She plays really hard ball. As she continues to develop her offensive game, I think she's going to really be a force to be reckoned with. And plus, she has like the best vet. She has Natasha Cloud, who did nothing this season and nothing last season, but just pour into her and just help her get comfortable and really lean into all the things that she's really, really good at. Next year, when she comes back, if she plays a fully healthy game, she is going to be a major X factor and a big reason why the Mystics could potentially make a run for the chip if, of course, they keep Natasha Cloud and Elena Dawn from going elsewhere in free agency. That was number 5. Number 4 is my Aces player, and it is Jackie Young. I loved watching Jackie Young play basketball this year. She was exceptional. From opening tip of game 1 until the end of game 5 of game 4 of the WNBA Finals, she was absolutely exceptional. Had a career year. Everything was up. We talked about it on the show a lot. I talked about it on the page at one point, walking down the street to work. I said she could have been an MVP candidate. I said she could have won Finals MVP as well because that's how great she played in game 1 of the WNBA Finals. But she was great. I loved her. Jackie's so special because she's so quiet. Like she's definitely like that silent assassin type where like she doesn't talk much. She doesn't have like the big personality that like the Chelsea Grays and the Kelsey Plums and the Asia Wilsons and other girls on the team has, but like she shows up and there's so many times where she's the best player on the floor, and I just loved seeing that from her this year. So she was my 4th favorite player to watch. My 3rd favorite player to watch is Arike Ogunbowale. There's really not much more I can really say. She's just special. She's always special. She was special in Notre Dame. She's been special for Dallas. She was special in their playoff games, and Dallas has a lot of great things brewing, and I think they can definitely be competing for a championship in the years to come. But Arike Ogunbowale, she's just special. I just enjoy watching her play basketball. Number 2 on my list of favorite players of 2023 was Rhyne Howard, another very, very special player. She was exceptional in her first playoff game, in her first playoff series, right? And Atlanta Dream are moving in the right direction. It's because of Rhyne Howard. She's a big guard. She's a 3-point specialist. She can hit any shot on the floor. She's very shifty. Like you can't take your eyes off her for 1 second, and that's what I love about her. And then number 1, my favorite player to watch, 2023, is the unicorn, Satou Sabally. She was great. And that's what we were looking for, right? We were waiting to see Satou be who she was coming out of Oregon, to be that, good right-hand woman for Arike Ogunbowale and really get the Dallas Wings to get one step closer to getting over the hump and potentially winning a WNBA championship. And she was all that this year. Set the record for most consecutive double-doubles to start a season. She had like 11 or 12, right? She was an MVP candidate for much of the season until she kind of tinkered off towards the end. And of course, she did miss a couple games with injury, so that didn't help her as well. She did end up winning Most Improved Player, which was truly, truly, truly deserved for Satou Sabally. She was my favorite player to watch for 2023. She'll probably be my favorite player to watch next year as well because her game is just so special. Her game is so unique. It's so smooth. And there's no time that you can look up at Satou Sabally and don't think that she won't deliver because she's been that. She's all that. And I love her. So Satou Sabally tops my list. It's crazy to think that there's a non-Aces player at the top of my list. I'm sure a lot of you guys feel that way. But I was pushing a heavy Satou agenda way before we even got to Protect Our Queens. I was pushing this agenda hard on Go Talk with Marcus when Martin and I were doing women's basketball shows twice a week or once every 2 weeks on my show over there. I bugged Martin about Satou Sabally every chance I got. I watched 2 teams play every game of basketball this season. I watched my Aces play every game of basketball, and I watched the Wings play every game of basketball because I loved watching Satou Sabally play basketball. If Satou Sabally has no fans, I'm dead because I am Satou Sabally's biggest fan. I can't wait to see what she does in 2024.
That's a great list, man. Yeah, love Satou at number 1. Well deserved. Well deserved.
Yeah,
most improved player this year, correct?
Most improved player this year, 100% deserved to be the most improved player this year. By the way, speaking of the awards, with an exception of MVP, I would say they got them all right this year. From Coach of the Year to Most Improved to Sixth Player of the Year, Defensive Player of the Year. Obviously, like I think they got them all right, except for MVP.
All right, man. I think we're doing some trivia.
Yeah, we are doing some trivia. How do you want to do this? Do you want? Because I found out so the plan was for me to give Martin some trivia questions. And then Martin texted me at 11:30 Sunday night, and I was like, I have trivia ready for you. Wow,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. I figured you might as well. Might as well. The best trivia, the best quiz is a pop quiz all the time anyway. So
That's fine. That is a good point. The best quiz is a pop quiz. So how you want to do this? Do you want to just kind of?
I'll just do mine first. I don't know what.
How many questions do you have?
It's one general one. Well, it's I got
one.
10 players that I need you to name where they played in college. That's what I got.
Good Lord, Martin.
Yeah. So in the name of you really becoming part of the women's basketball community this year, kind of last year, coming this year.
18 months. Yeah.
We you're still an infant. You're still an infant out here. So we're gonna test your knowledge a little bit. This isn't 2023 related. This is just women's basketball related, and we're gonna test Marcus's knowledge. Now, in all trivia, obviously, there'll be a couple easy ones, couple gimmies, warm you up. I could have.
I appreciate that. I
could have gone aggressive on you, and it might be a few in here. I'm interested to see. A couple you better get right. But
I appreciate it.
We'll start easy. We'll start easy and simple. All right, here we go. Okay. Candace Parker,
Tennessee.
Sue Bird,
Lower Rocky Top, UConn.
You better get this one. Kalia Copper.
Ooh, I actually have no idea where Kalia Copper is.
Oh, Marcus.
Hold on, don't.
By how if you took context clues, you might even have an educated guess. Kalia Copper? Oh, Marcus, this is personally offensive.
Oh,
and then there it is, and I just gave it. Wow. Okay, not you don't. That's a miss.
I
but
did not mean to offend you there.
That was one.
I did not mean to offend you.
Better not miss this one.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry, bro.
Oh, that's it. Wow. Okay. All right. 2 out of 3. I think you got this one, Elena Delle Donne.
I do know where Elena went to school, but for some reason I can't. She went to.
You know the story about where she almost went, right?
I do know the story of where she almost went. Where did? Oh no!
Come on.
Jeez. Where did Elena Delle Donne go?
Eyes up, sir. Eyes up, sir.
I'm looking at my cup. There's nothing down here.
I know, but look,
there's nothing down here.
Eyes up.
I don't know, man. Where did Elena Delle Donne go to school?
No guess.
No, I got nothing for you.
Delaware.
I was gonna say that. It was right here. I was like, nah, she didn't go to Delaware.
Almost went to UConn.
That I did know. She did almost go to UConn. Yeah, I did know that.
DeWanna Bonner. She's been in the league a long time, so this is that. I mean, this is made to be a tough one because you would have to.
I don't even guess. I think when DeWanna Bonner got into the league, I didn't know the WNBA existed. So I don't have
Auburn.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Auburn. Okay, couple gimmies. You should have these. Brittany Griner.
Baylor.
Brittany Sykes. That may not be a gimme, but I thought you may know because she plays for the Mystics.
I don't know where Brittany Sykes went to school. No.
Syracuse.
Oh, okay. Cool.
Angel McCoughtry. I think you know that one.
I know who she is. I know she played for the Dream.
You better know who she is.
I know who she is. I know she played for the Dream. I don't know where she went to school, though.
Another one. She's retired, of course, but
yes,
I mean, Bird's retired too. And
yeah, well, I think I watched a lot more Sue Bird than I did.
You didn't watch her in college,
but I knew that she went to UConn. You know what? Because they mentioned it all the time when her and Clay were together in Seattle. Yeah, you mentioned all that. I don't know where.
Yeah.
I don't know who. Yeah, I don't know.
Angel McCoughtry went to Louisville.
I wouldn't have guessed that in a million years, dude.
And based on how this has gone, I know you're probably not getting these last two.
Yeah, bro. I'm not that guy,
Kelsey Mitchell?
Kelsey Mitchell went. Nope, that's the other Mitchell. I was about to say South Carolina. That's the other one. I don't know. I don't know where Kelsey Mitchell went to school.
Ohio State.
Okay.
And Lexi Brown. Any
Lexi Brown went to Maryland. You know why I know that? because Lexi Brown was the answer. It's one of the trivia questions we had for the guests we're going to have. So that's why I know that.
I know Lexi Brown for going to Duke, but she must have transferred to either one. So
she started at Maryland and then she did graduate from Duke. Yes.
Okay. All right. Good. So you got a few, but that was made to challenge you. So yeah.
We'll revisit this, Anita, next year and then see how we're.
Yeah, we'll come back to it. Yeah, but again, you're an infant, so certain things.
I appreciate that. I appreciate the grace.
I was curious. I wasn't sure where you were on certain players, but that's yeah, that was good.
All right. All of my questions are also based on the WNBA. And I'm a stat nerd. So these are statty questions. And there's only 6 of them. Some of them I think are kind of easy, and then other ones might not be as easy. But then again, you're the basketball Jedi, so you might fly through these. All right. First question. A'ja Wilson, this year, she did tie the record for most points scored in a single WNBA game, 53 points. Do you remember the team that she played when she tied the record?
Man. Was it Dallas?
Nope. It was Atlanta.
That was my other guess. Wow. Oh, man. Okay.
All right. There were 5 players this year that averaged at least 20 points per game. Jewel Lloyd, Breanna Stewart, A'ja Wilson, and Arike Ogunbowale. Who was the 5th?
You said Jewel, Arike, A'ja, and
Breanna Stewart.
It's either Ryan Howard or Kelsey Plum. Ryan Howard.
This is Fessa Collier.
Ooh. Wow.
Yeah. She really picked it up at the end of the season.
She was like double all year. Wow. Okay.
All right. Number 3, 2 players from the Atlanta Dream were selected to the All-Star game for the first time in their career. Who were those 2 players?
Alicia Gray, Ryan Howard.
Nope.
No, not Ryan Howard. Say the girl's name.
Cheyenne Parker. Yes. All right. A new record was set for 40-point games in a season this year. Who set the record for those 40-point games in a season?
Wow, really? Did I know that?
Yeah, we talked about it on the show. So,
was it A'ja?
Nope, it was Breanna Stewart.
Breanna Stewart.
Yeah,
wow.
She set the record for most 40-point games in a season. Yeah.
Wow.
All right. Last two. I think you might know this one.
And you had a problem with her winning MVP.
Huh?
She set a 40-point record? You had a problem with her winning MVP?
We don't need to reopen this wound. All right. we don't need to reopen this one.
I forgot about that.
All right. I think you should get this one because we talked a lot about this as soon as it happened. Candice Dupree in 2010 set the record for most points in a playoff debut. She had 32 points. This year, a new player broke that record with 36 points. Who has the record now for most playoff points in a debut?
You said we talked about it. Playoffs started this show the day before the playoffs started.
3 months. They played the day after. I think it was 2 days after they played on Friday.
Playoff debut.
Yes.
This isn't where my basketball Jedi powers come into play.
You did a breakdown on her.
Ryan Howard?
Yes, it was Ryan Howard.
Oh, okay. Did I break down that game?
No, you didn't break down that game. You broke down
her career high game, I think.
You broke down the game. I think it was either her career high game or you broke down just like her game in general because she had set the record for 3-pointers made in a rookie season. It was
Right.
one of those.
Right.
All right. And then the last one, which I think you'll get this one as well, but let's see. Maya Moore holds the record for most 30-point games in a single season. This season, her record was tied. Who tied her record? And as a bonus point, do you know how many 30-point games she had?
I mean, my guess is Breonna Stewart now.
No, 40-point games don't count. It's just from 30 to 39.
Just 30
and
point games.
anything from 30 to 39. How many of those? Who had the most of those games? Yeah.
Okay. 30 balls? Who was getting who? You said they tied the record this year? Wow. Man. I'll go Enrique.
It's Jewel Lloyd.
Oh, easy one. Easy one, honestly. Easy one. Wow. That's good.
She set the record for most points in a single season too. She had 939.
Makes
And
sense.
I think she also set the record for points per game this year too. She had like 24.7 or something like that. So
makes sense.
she had a real good, really elite scoring season this year. Really elite scoring season. This year was a really good year to start Protect Our Queens. We had some really good guests, some really great moments. Martin has compiled some of those moments together. And so we're going to go ahead and just share with you guys what we thought were some of our best moments from the show this year.
You trying to see what's up.
Ever beaten your dad one-on-one?
All the time. he wouldn't agree. I talk trash to him like all the time too.
Where'd that love for basketball like start for you? Where'd that start?
Started when I was boxing. I started off.
I don't know. I love Mary J. Blige.
Mary J. Blige.
She's like her music and then watching her on.
Great, bro.
What's up with Mary J. Blige, bro? I can't. I'm not gonna go in. This isn't a music show. I'm not gonna.
Mary J. Blige.
Not that she's a legend. I just said she's a legend, bro. Just drop it. Go Mary. Go Mary. Go Mary.
Every time I hear Asia talk after like she's been disrespected, it just reminds me that God's not through me yet because I don't have the humility to like. I'm gonna just be honest here. This is a safe space. I'm gonna just keep it a being. If I was Asia Wilson and somebody voted me 4th place, let alone I finished 3rd. If somebody voted me 4th place for MVP and I know I just had a career year and I just proved once again I was the best, like I wouldn't just be like, no, to the next one. There would be a lot more pushback, a lot more hostility. So every time I hear Asia talk, it just lets me know that God not through me yet.
You got 5 seconds to name 5 states. Go.
Alabama, Alaska, Arizona, Arkansas, California, Colorado, Connecticut, Delaware.
He just went
Are you saying them in alphabetical order?
I was saying them in alphabetical order, yeah.
Do you know all the states in alphabetical order?
I know all 50 states in alphabetical order, yes. Do you want me to do it or no?
That's definitely.
Go ahead, just do it. Do it.
You want me to do it?
Go ahead.
Alabama, Alaska, Arizona, Arkansas, California, Colorado, Connecticut, Delaware, Florida, Georgia, Hawaii, Idaho, Illinois, Indiana, Iowa, Kansas, Kentucky, Louisiana, Maine, Maryland, Massachusetts, Minnesota, Mississippi. Maryland, Massachusetts, Michigan, Minnesota, Mississippi, Missouri, Montana, Nebraska, Nevada, New Hampshire, New Jersey, New Mexico, New York, North Carolina, North Dakota, Ohio. Now that I'm doing it on the spot, I can't do it in order. Ohio, Pennsylvania. I'm gonna have to do it with the song. I don't want to start over though. But I got to Pennsylvania.
That in school? They taught you that in school?
So there's a song in my 5th grade general knowledge class because it wasn't like science. It was like social studies, but not really. We had to learn the states in order, in alphabetical order. And I learned the song. I know the song. I could sing I could recite all 50 states the fastest in my 5th grade class. I got an award for it and everything. You guys know the 50 states in order in alphabetical order?
No. Ain't teaching that in Philly. Ain't teaching that in Philly. Oh, or in Jersey.
I thought that was like a thing, bro. I thought it was like a thing that we were doing.
He says like a thing.
I thought everybody knew the 50 states in order. I thought that was like a thing that you learned.
Time. He said Alaska, Alabama.
He said
Alaska,
Alabama, Alabama. I said, never mind. I never gave him that question.
He was about to say 5 A's. I'm like, bro, you got 5 A's? It's over it.
Bro, that
So apparently, thanks to Instagram, you're getting a lot of support from people who are saying that it's just who know the song and who also feel it's not uncommon to know 50 states in alphabetical.
it's a whole. Do you know the Animaniacs, Martin?
Well, when you asked me that on that episode, I thought you were talking about the show, the animated show, the Animaniacs.
Yes, the animated show, the Animaniacs.
Oh,
yes.
Animaniacs. We are, and we,
Yeah.
yeah. I know. Yeah,
That's where the song. Yeah, that's where the song is from.
they say it in the intro song.
Yeah, there's an entire episode about it. Yeah.
Oh, there's an episode about. I thought you meant it's in.
There's
I know the
Well,
intro.
no, that's not the intro, but the Animaniacs, they have like the song that like goes over all the countries.
Okay.
They have the song that goes over all the state capitals, and they have one that goes over all the states. So that's so when I learned it, they went over the
And then you learned it in school, so that like fortified it.
So then
Like,
it became a whole thing. We had to go over. It was a whole
I
contest.
didn't know that. Yeah, I know. I know about Animaniacs. I don't think I ever knew about that episode. Yeah. So
Yeah,
you got a bunch of supporters out there who are like you.
I'm such a fucking nerd, man.
Yeah, that's,
God,
I mean,
dude.
yeah, it's good to know stuff though. Good to know stuff.
You're rewatching that clip today to make sure that it worked. Brought me so much joy. I can't even explain between your reaction, Dom's reaction. I can't put into words how amused and embarrassed I am looking back on that.
Yeah,
That she asked me for 5 states in 5 seconds, and I got through like 6 or 7 very quickly. Very quickly.
I thought you had 5 A's just off the bat. I was like, wow, you just knocked that out,
bro. This was fun though. This was a good episode. We appreciate all you guys that are watching live. We appreciate you guys that will be watching later, and all you guys that will tune into the clips that we post on Instagram from our conversation earlier. We are a bit over today. I think our conversation on the lottery went a lot longer than we anticipated. I think up until today we've done a good job of keeping it to an hour. But Martin, do you have any last things you wanted to say before we close out for the year?
No. Much love to people supporting. We're planning on being back in the new year with some new stuff. So much love. We'll definitely be around for the rest of the year, but this is the last show of the year. So big love to people who got big love for women's basketball and Protect Our Queens for sure.
Yeah. And just want to give a huge shout out to all the guests that have come on the show. We appreciate all of you guys. Everyone that tunes in, likes, comments, shares, subscribes, all that stuff. We appreciate you guys as well. Like Martin said, this is the last show of the year, but we are not done posting. You can always catch us on Instagram at @ProtectOurQueens_. We'll still be posting content there throughout the course of the year. Other than that, though, hope you guys have a great Christmas, have a Merry Christmas, and a Happy New Year. And the next time you'll see us live right here at 7 p.m. on a Tuesday, it'll be in 2024. So stay safe out there in these streets. We appreciate all the support, and we can't wait to have a full calendar year to do more of this, more of Protect Our Queens. So for my guy, Martin Soares, this is Marcus of the Protect Our Queens podcast, signing off. Thank you guys for watching. Have a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. We'll see you in 2024.